In 1924, Mallory was preparing for his third and final Everest attempt. He needed a climbing partner, someone strong, someone determined, someone who wouldn't quit. The expedition had several experienced climbers, men who had been to Everest before, men who knew the mountain, men who knew the risks. Mallory chose none of them. Instead, he chose Andrew Irvine, 22 years old, zero Everest experience. The other climbers were shocked. Irvine, he's never climbed above 20,000 feet. He's never even seen Everest. Exactly. Mallory said he's fresh, untainted by failure. He still believes it's possible, but he's inexperienced. Experience teaches caution, Mallory replied. I don't need caution, I need courage. That decision would define both their fates. Andrew Irvine was everything Mallory once was. Young, ambitious, fearless. Born in 1902. English from a good family. Educated at Oxford. Athletic. Popular. The world ahead of him. He had climbed in the Alps, done well, shown promise, but nothing prepared him for Everest. When the expedition invitation came, Irvine was thrilled. His friends warned him, Everest is different. It's not like the Alps. People die there. Irvine laughed. People die everywhere. At least on Everest, you die doing something extraordinary. He didn't understand yet. Death on Everest wasn't heroic. It was slow, cold, lonely. But at 22, death feels distant, impossible, something that happens to other people. Irvine accepted immediately. Wrote to his mother, I'm going to climb Everest. Imagine that, the highest point on Earth. His mother was worried. You're so young. Why rush into danger? Because opportunity doesn't wait, Irvine said. If I don't go now, someone else will, and I'll spend my life wondering what if. The same words Mallory once said. The same justification. The same obsession beginning. When Irvine arrived at base camp, the other climbers studied him. Young, strong, confident, but inexperienced. One climber, Noel Odell, pulled Mallory aside. Are you sure about Irvine? He's talented, yes, but Everest requires more than talent. What does it require? Mallory asked. Experience, judgment, knowing when to turn back. Mallory smiled. I have enough experience for both of us. Irvine has what I need. Youth, strength, belief. Odell wasn't convinced. What if he gets in trouble? What if you have to choose between the summit and his life? Mallory didn't answer. Because he already knew. Summit first, always. But Irvine had another skill, one that made him invaluable. He was a mechanical genius, understood oxygen systems better than anyone, could fix anything, improve anything. In 1924, supplemental oxygen was new technology, clunky, heavy, unreliable. Most climbers hated it, the masks were uncomfortable, the tanks leaked, the valves froze. But Irvine saw potential. He spent hours tinkering, adjusting, modifying. He reduced the weight, improved the flow, made the system more reliable. Mallory watched him work. You really think oxygen is the key? Absolutely, Irvine said. The human body can't function above 8,000 meters, not for long. But with oxygen, we can push higher, stay longer, and reach the summit, Mallory added. Exactly. That's why Mallory chose Irvine. Not despite his inexperience, because of his innovation. The climb began. They established camps, climbed higher, day by day, meter by meter. Irvine struggled initially. The altitude hit him hard. Headaches, nausea, exhaustion. But he pushed through, refused to quit, refused to show weakness. Mallory was impressed. You're tougher than you look? Irvine grinned. I told you, I'm not here to fail. By early June, they were ready. Final summit push. Mallory and Irvine, together. The other climbers had already tried and failed. Too tired, too sick, too cautious. But Mallory and Irvine were fresh, ready, determined. On June 6th, they said goodbye to the support team. Started the final ascent. Noel Odell, watching from below, felt uneasy. Something doesn't feel right. Another climber asked, should we stop them? Stop Mallory? Odell shook his head. Impossible, he's already gone. Mentally, he's already at the summit. On June 7, Mallory and Irvine spent the night at Camp 6, 8,000 meters, the death zone. Irvine wrote in his diary, tomorrow we climb. Either we reach the top or we don't come back. I'm strangely calm, ready for either outcome. He was 22 years old, writing about death as if it were an adventure. Mallory read the entry, said nothing, because he felt the same. Death or summit, both were acceptable. Failure was not. That night, Mallory asked Irvine, "Are you scared?" "Terrified," Irvine admitted, "but also excited. This is what we came for." "Do you trust me?" Mallory asked. Irvine didn't hesitate. Completely. "Good. Because tomorrow I'm going to push hard. We won't turn back unless absolutely necessary." "How necessary?" Irvine asked. Mallory was honest. "Unless we're dying." Irvine nodded. "Then we better not die." They laughed. Nervous laughter, the kind that hides fear. On June 8 at 4 a.m., they started climbing, oxygen tanks strapped to their backs, ice axes in hand, summit above. The last person to see them was Noel Odell. At 12:50 p.m., two tiny figures, high on the mountain, moving toward the summit. Then clouds rolled in, and they disappeared. Forever. Did they reach the summit? Did Irvine's youth and Mallory's experience combine to achieve the impossible? Or did Irvine's inexperience and Mallory's obsession lead them both to death? Nobody knows. But here's what we do know. Irvine trusted Mallory completely, followed him without question, believed in him absolutely, and Mallory led him to his death. Was it worth it? For Irvine's family? For Irvine himself? He was 22, his whole life ahead. Possibilities endless. Instead, he's frozen somewhere on Everest, forever 22, forever trusting, forever following Mallory. Years later, climbers found Mallory's body, but Irvine never found. He's still up there, somewhere, alone. Did he die climbing up, full of hope and ambition? Or climbing down, realizing too late that the summit wasn't worth his life? We'll never know. But here's the tragedy. Irvine didn't have to go. He had a choice. Mallory was obsessed, had to climb, had no choice anymore. But Irvine, he chose to follow, chose to trust, chose to believe, and that choice killed him. The question isn't why Mallory chose Irvine. The question is why Irvine said yes. Because at 22, death feels impossible, glory feels guaranteed, and saying no feels like failure. Irvine said yes, and paid with his life.